going to turn it back over so we can transition into our next amazing session because I know all
Okay,
of our
so
speakers are ready.
so our next session it's a panel discussion. It's building peer connections and social capital in online learning. And a lot of the discussions we've been having have been more about AI. But like we said, the great AI disequilibrium, we're talking about how do we balance this out? How do we balance it? So so it's not an AI correspondence course. Okay. And our next speakers are definitely going to be helping us understand how to do it. Our next speakers, and I'm going to do a shout out to Danielle Bonner. If you want to get on camera or say hi or anything like that, that's great.
Hi, Kate.
I second that shout out.
Yes. So Danielle is the person who organized this, got this together. She's from InScribe. And the people that we are going to have talking now are Katy Kappler, Sarah Rasmussen from Dakota State University, and Nathan Watson from Lindenwood University. So I'm going to turn it over to them because they will be doing it all. Okay.
Awesome. Let's go. Thank you so much. You guys have put on an amazing event already this week. And we really appreciate you including us in the content. We're excited to be here. My name is Katy. I am co-founder and CEO at InScribe. So I'm really just going to be leading the discussion today. We are going to try and make this a little interactive. I've been in some of the other sessions. I know the chat is already very active, so you guys are going to be great at this. I am also going to attempt to move back and forth between a presentation and the speakers. I've never done this before. Bear with me. I may make a mistake. But I know we're all friends here, so it's a safe space to try some new things. Okay, so first of all, thank you all for being here. I think this is going to be a great conversation. I am going to have our panelists introduce themselves in just a second. But I did mention we're going to have a few questions pop up that we'd love your input on. So I assume you guys have all used Slido in the past. If not, just get out your device, use that QR code to open up our Slido and enter that code that you see there, and that will give you access to our space. And we have a couple of places, not a ton, but a couple of places where we're going to ask you to chime in. I also appreciate that if you have been on this Zoom all day, this is probably the third time somebody is asking you to do this. But we would love to know who you are. So if you want to take a minute to just drop name, role, location into the chat. I also am very passionate about weather. So if you want to let us know what the weather's like where you're coming from, please do that. I happen to be in Denver, Colorado, and it is very sunny here today, about 70 degrees, but a bit windy. Classic autumn day in Colorado. So drop that in the chat. While that is coming in, I'm going to also now introduce our panelists or have them introduce themselves. So Sarah and Nate, we'll start with you, Sarah. Let us know who you are, a little bit about your background. And like I said, I'd love to know what the weather's like where you're coming in from.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, Katy. I'll start off with the weather because that's the easiest and it's kind of the bad news to good news thing. As I look out my window here in South Dakota, it is gloomy, it's overcast, but the trees have lots of colors. It's just one of those gloomy days you really just kind of want to be inside.
Like
and I
you
know
curl up with
everyone
hot
knows.
chocolate.
Yes, yes. But what we do at work when we can't have all of those things is we turn on the space heater under the desk. I know there's people out there that do it. So
I'm one. I do that.
Yes.
Huge fan.
So I am from Dakota State University. I'm our director of online education here. And I've worked in higher education for about 20 years. I started off at a for-profit, did that for a handful of years, and then moved into the public nonprofit arena. So I've done everything from supervising the academic advising, financial aid, admissions, kind of the whole gamut. But my passion has always been geared towards the what we used to call the non-traditional student, the adult student, and online really has made so many things available to them. So that's where my passions lie with online or with any of the education topics.
Awesome. Welcome, Sarah. I'm so glad that you could be here with us today.
Thank you.
All right, Nate, you're up.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see behind me, but it's a really nice day in
Yes, look
St.
at
Charles,
that. I
Missouri.
couldn't tell if that was a fake background
Oh,
or if
that's
that's
real. You might see someone walk by, but it's 61 degrees, sunny, clear, beautiful fall, red leaves, you name it. So
Yeah.
great weather over here. Yeah, I'm the Vice President of Enrollment Services for Lindenwood University. So I manage all new and incoming enrollment for both traditional first-year freshmen and our non-traditional online segment. But I also manage retention and persistence and student services for the online side. So I have a team of success coaches that report up to me. So I've been here about 3.5 years, but I've got a little under 10 years at another institution. Actually, Sarah and I worked at the same institution some time ago. So 10 years in a for-profit adult online market.
Awesome. And I love that we've represented like the full student life cycle here, because when we think about things like connection and belonging, I think we all know this is not a point in time activity. This is something we have to think about from the moment that your student is even considering coming to your institution. How do we start to pull them in and help them feel like they're part of that? So super excited about this conversation. So I mentioned InScribe. This isn't a conversation about InScribe necessarily, but in case you're not familiar with us, InScribe is a virtual community platform. So we partner with institutions to create digital spaces where students connect to one another. One way that institutions can start to deliver flexible spaces that enable those things like belonging and connection and networking. But I also want to say that we're kind of coming into this conversation assuming that everyone in this room believes that connection and belonging are important for learners. So we're not going to try to convince you of that particular anecdote today. I know you've heard a lot about AI over the course of the week and probably at any conference that you've been to if it's in the last 2 or 3 years. And we are also believers that AI has the potential to transform education in many, many ways. But at InScribe, and I believe, in the conversations that we're going to have with Sarah and Nate, we do not want to lose sight of the critical importance that human relationships also have for individuals, especially those who are going through a post-secondary journey. So at InScribe, we talk about being human first, technology enabled. But if you think back on your higher education journey or any education journey, I'm sure that the things that come to mind, a lot of it are the mentors that you had, the friends that you made, the network that you built. And we don't want students to miss out on that. And we particularly don't want online students they already kind of miss out on that by virtue of not being on campus. And we don't want AI to sort of swoop in and remove the ability for those students to have that rich experience as part of their education journey. So again, we're coming from the premise that we believe the community is important. We believe that belonging matters. And with that, I'm going to throw out, and so I'm going to stop sharing for a sec. This is where this is going to get interesting. But okay, so Sarah and Nate, I know when people are thinking about these initiatives on campus, there can be various either opportunities or challenges that they're facing in terms of bringing these to bear. So when you think about your own institution, what were some of the flags that told you this is something that's important, this is something that's possible, and what were some of the barriers you ran into as you thought about either personally or from the institution as you thought about when it came to implementation? So Sarah, I'm going to start with you. Talk to us a little bit about what you were seeing.
Yeah, so as many people in online education have probably looked at over time, we started way back in the day looking at things like DFW rates, how many students were dropping and withdrawing from classes in the online world, and then comparing it to main campus. And as you all have probably seen similar things, it wasn't quite matching up. We were finding that there was a higher rate of just dropping. Sometimes there was no communication with it. They just fell off the face of the earth. Even though we've had practices that help encourage, finding them and having them stay. Sometimes they just disappear. And so we did a couple surveys along the way. We do our priority survey for online learners, and the theme that just kept coming up was community. They were reaching out to tutors, but these were people they didn't know. They were reaching out to lots of different resources, but didn't really have that companion. And as many higher education places are right now, we didn't necessarily have the budget to go dive deep into, different platforms and things like that. So we created a homegrown version of a virtual student union, and housed it right within we use D2L. So I wanted to make it familiar to the students, maybe that aren't familiar with D2L, and get them comfortable in the platform. We designed it just the way that their classes are aligned to design based off of our quality assurance, so that they were familiar with where to find the Dropbox, where to submit an assignment, where to do discussion posts. And then we added in all of our student services that we have right now. We have lots of different, since it's National Distance Learning Week, we're giving away prizes for all sorts of things. We put them right there. And what we're seeing is, and now we've started this last semester, we've started doing any of our live stream events. So I've asked our campus that anytime there's an event, if it can be conducive to an online population, can we make a live stream link so that our online students can attend? And we've done about 3 of them so far this semester and have had excellent turnout. We've done an AI event, just the basics of AI, and we had a lot of students on there. And then we just had a community chat type of session to get them familiar with each other and the questions they can ask. So that's what we've done on the barriers to kind of get this implemented, is just start with what you have.
Yeah.
And then you'll see more, and you can be able to show the difference. I think we'll get into this a little bit later, but after analyzing if it's made an impact or not, we've noticed a 3% increase in our online only retention since prior to launching the virtual student union, during our first run go of it, and now as we fine tune it, and we're seeing really great results from that. So is it the ideal situation? No, something like InScribe. Sorry for the shameless plug there, Katy, but
You never have to apologize for me. Right?
Yeah. Something like that is really created for that in mind is ideal. But when you can't do that, as I know many universities can't right away, this is a good step to be able to show effectiveness in it, and then maybe reach out to that other, gold star company that you'd like to get. And your administration and everybody should be able to see the statistics of where you've grown in retention from the homegrown version and lead up to a more improved version.
Right. So you're definitely reflecting, I'm sure, what a lot of folks feel, which is, I'm very passionate about this. I believe in it, but either I'm having a hard time convincing the institution, or the money is not there. And I think you're maybe not giving yourself as much credit as you should for how you really pushed forward with, like what you said, like, here's the tools that I have. I know this is going to work. So what can I build based, in D2L, in my LMS, using what's already at hand? And so I always I commend you for that. And then, using that as a stepping stone to maybe a larger initiative, which I think is really neat. I do see the question in the chat, but I'm going to circle back to that in 1 second. Nate, talk to us a little bit about what was going on and some of the challenges you were looking at.
Yeah, I'll focus just on challenges and barriers, maybe solutions a little bit later. But I would say there were 2 main challenges that that we face, that probably everybody faces. And first is just the transactional nature of online. And I think that's both an institutional and a student tendency. Online is just inherently more transactional than in person. So I think anyone in this room who's experienced both in-person classroom discussions and online discussion boards knows exactly what I'm talking about. You know, the online discussion board isn't really community. It's students see it as an assignment, and rarely do they walk away from the discussion board, you know, making a lifetime friend. But institutions, I think sometimes they see like this group, the online group, the Some College No Degree, as a solution for like lagging traditional enrollment.
Yeah.
And they inadvertently treat the student as such. Maybe see it as you pay me, I give you a degree. And it's kind of like commodification. Again, I don't think it's intentional, but it just happens. In fact, in a unique situation here, we had an online panel of our traditional students. So these are your traditional straight out of high school students, and they rated the same professor poorly in the online classroom compared to a great rating when that same instructor was in person.
Sure.
And they feel like it's kind of like I go in, I get the job done, I go out. So now I don't think it's all the institution's fault, because students themselves go back to school for transactional reasons, you know. Your traditional student, they go back to school, or they go to school because that's life's plan. Whereas your online student, usually in my experience, they go back for a better income, you know, a degree, career that's going to make them happy. So they go back because life didn't go as planned. And that's just a transactional approach to education. But once they get in, I think they long for the community. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is just the asymmetry between, at least the institution I work for, it's a private, almost 200-year-old institution, you know, and it's built for first-year freshmen coming out of high school.
Right.
It's not built for the online student. And so as universities like this move into the adult market, they're consistently trying to cram that online student through this old school way of doing things, you know. And for example, my first year at this institution, you know, start week for our first year freshmen, you know, they had this this in-person orientation. They had a DJ out front, you know, with the mascot dancing around. Then the next week they had individuals from all across the university, faculty, you name it, going around knocking on student doors saying, hey, we're glad you're here. And I think that's awesome. But then I asked, who's doing that for the online student?
Yeah.
So again, no one wanted to intentionally disregard the online student. It's just
Right.
not the natural tendency. So what it all boils down to, I think, is resources. From that perspective, is trying to figure out how to use minimal resources to support the online student, especially when it's not your first nature.
Yeah. And you can see how your 2 points sort of play on each other, right? Where if there's this expectation that it's more transactional, then maybe why are we putting energy into this big, welcome event if that's not what they want or that's not what they need? But then they get there and everybody realizes, well, yeah, they do actually kind of want and need that as well as the education piece. So I can see how they just reinforce each other in potentially a negative and challenging way. So that's a great setup. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. We're gonna jump. Oh, that's not what I want to do. That's what I want. Okay, so we're gonna ask a question of the. Oh,
Oh, wow.
there's already apparently you guys are right in there. Okay, this is fantastic. We don't even need. So if you haven't yet answered the first question, jump on in and do that. The question being, what is the biggest challenge your students faced in building connection? So I think, and Sarah, if you don't mind, while these answers are kind of coming in, somebody asked in the chat for a little more information about the survey that you put out. Is that something you guys wrote yourselves? Is that a standard survey that's available to other institutions? What did that look like?
Yeah, so the one I was referencing is called the PSOL, so it's a priority survey for online learners. It's the equivalent to the IDEA survey, or the student opinion survey that's given in classroom settings. I believe once upon a time, Kansas State University kind of housed, or it was part of that. So it is a standardized tool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we did our own too, just kind of, we make sure not to survey the heck out of them. So on the off years, we don't survey them with that full survey. I'll put together a survey of, some simple 10 questions, and it gives us the same type of feedback that we need, because we only do it every other year, which in
Okay.
the world of online is like archaic. Like when you go from one year, you skip a year. It's like there's so much lost.
Everything has changed. The whole
Yeah,
world has changed in
for
2
sure.
years. That's so true. Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. So I hope that helped answer the question in the chat. But so just asking you guys to kind of reflect on what you see here, I think it is an interesting mix of what we were talking about, Sarah, where you really were mentioning, here's what our students are feeling, here's what we're hearing from them in terms of I'm busy, I'm lonely, I don't know how to fit it all in, and a lot of what Nate was talking about in terms of how the perceptions of the campus might lend itself to maybe not supporting online students in all the ways that they might need. Anything jump out to you guys here?
I want to just throw in there that kind of going off of a similar concept that Nate mentioned is we do all of these things in person, and we do them so well. Everybody's got that DJ or whatever to make that week really great. And in online, they're not in front of your face. I continue to say, if we brought all the online students to campus one day, you would need to they're right in your face then. So there's a lot of things that would need to take place. And then I just remove if they all came here one day, because they're all here. They're just not in front of the face. So
not in person, right.
yeah.
And there is this, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, which leads to all of this isolation, drama, teamwork, learning, all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I go back to something Nate said, which is this idea that we're trying to sort of squeeze online students into the way that we support traditional students, and that fit is not right, round peg, square hole kind of analogy. And one of the, for example, you do this great big orientation for in-person students. Well, you can do that because everyone is there. Their time is focused on that activity. They're all available at the same time. We're in online, to the point here, people are working, they've got kids, they can't be all at the same place at the same time. That's why they're learning online in huge part. So you have to create these opportunities, but they can't look exactly the same, right? You have to adapt them to be a little bit more flexible and meet those students where they are. Which is a great segue. And Nate, did you want to say anything about what you see in front of you?
No, I mean, I would say one of the ones that stood out is actually small, and that's connection to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not feeling that, not having the opportunity for that. But I think this is a perfect segue into talking about some of the things that you guys have done to circumvent this. And what am I doing? I'm going to try and stop sharing. Oh, there we go. All right. So Nate, why don't you start this time? Sure. Knowing that your online students probably need something, but getting the mascot and the band together and the DJ is not going to be it. What were some of the things that you guys have started to work on for them?
Yeah, so I worked on the things I could control. Like research says that your instructor is like tantamount to having a good, engaging experience. But, I'm not on the academic side, so I leave that up to academics to fix, So my approach was, this has to take place outside of the classroom. Like the engagement, the community, it has to happen outside the classroom. The reason is especially online, particularly for an adjunct heavy model, you can go an entire program without having the same teacher twice. So how are you really going to build a relationship with them? And I'm actually in an online program. I just started year 4, and I can point to one single course where an instructor engaged in the discussion forum in the classroom. So again, not going to happen in the classroom. Additionally, especially as your program grows, you have a lot of incoming and outgoing students. So just like that adjunct faculty, your classmates are changing every term. So we decided 2 things outside the classroom. It's interesting. I was actually put on a committee called the community committee. It was the presidential admissions.
Very on the nose.
4 C's. Yeah. So it worked out really well. And 2 things. One, we hired and built a success coach model
Yeah.
with intrusive advising. So again, outside of the classroom, if the faculty and the classmates are going to change every term, they need an anchor. And we were
Say
able
a
to
thing
get
about, say 1 or 2 words about intrusive advising, like what that meant. for you.
proactively like involved in your student's life. It's not just like, hey, register for classes next term. It's like, hey, I saw you got an A in this class. Great job.
Yeah.
Or I've noticed you're 3 assignments behind. What's going on in your life? So it's really heavily involved, a lot of outbound contacting. And we had to get permission, approval for extra resources to take the staff to a student caseload down to a manageable level. And that's happened over the past 3 years. Persistence has gone up over 20% since we did that. So that's great. Second was InScribe, frankly. Like, we weren't looking for that as a solution. We were just looking for a solution. Like, how can students connect continually outside of the classroom? And we were intentionally looking for something that was in alignment with our budget, that was technology based, because the reality is people don't talk on the phone anymore. They engage
Yeah.
social media, they plan parties via
Asynchronous.
Instagram,
Yeah.
so it has to be something like that, but it also has to be easily accessible in the most accessed place, which would be not their student portal, but Canvas, where they're taking their classes.
Right.
So, and I don't want to get into it because I think later we might talk about student feedback. That was heavily influential in making this decision, but we did engage with InScribe and implemented that community-based platform to create a sense of connection.
Yeah, for your students. And we'll talk a little bit more, I think, later about what you're seeing and how you're planning to study the outcomes of that. But so Sarah, you gave us a sneak preview of the work that you've already been doing in D2L. Maybe just go a level deeper, talk about, how did you introduce students to the space? What are they doing in there?
Yeah. No, all excellent questions, and all, if this is a real word, figure outable.
It is today. That is
Yeah.
officially a word.
Okay, good. We'll call it one. So we launched it. We'll call it just a pilot launch. And what I did was enter in all of our online students. So they could opt out if they saw their name in there. None of them did, because it's not requiring anything of them. And so our first run was about 1,200 students that we put in there, just to see what they would click on the most, what they would find the most interesting. And we have topics in there under our content. We have we have a section for student services, where we've got our tutoring and all online services as well too. So tutoring, from our in-house tutoring to tutor.com, which that's pretty popular, especially around midterms and finals. And it's 100% free to them. So we make sure they know this. That's part of, I think we have some great services, but they were unknown because they were, housed in this place or on a website, this place. And so this kind of brings it all into one area that they can look, instead of having to go out to our website and find it. And then we've got academic advising. And so again, they're pretty comfortable. They know who their academic advisors are, but this just gives them that one more spot to understand what their advisor can do for them also. We do have some designated online only advisors for some of our larger like cybersecurity and computer science programs. And so those advisors are also working remote. So they're very familiar with that disconnect and the need to have a face-to-face conversation at times. And they're very good at it. And so this just puts them in direct communication with their specific advisor. Then we launched it full blown, and I added in all of our graduate students because it was asked that if they could enter, and I made a separate module for them, because obviously the content, the questions, all of that is going to vary a little between undergraduate and graduates. We wanted to make sure that we had those spaces for them. And then we added a dual credit one as well, just because again, that's an area that those dual credit students aren't going to need what those graduate students are going to need. So
Yeah.
we've tailored it to kind of those buckets. And then, as I said, we keep adding in things as we go, but right
Yeah.
now, as I mentioned before, some of those live streaming events, we just had a AI in the workplace panel that took place here on campus and had some great leaders from across the country come. And we were able to live stream it, which we wouldn't have done before. It was just kind of assumed like, nope, he's an on-campus speaker, that's all we can do. And we found a pretty decent turnout. There was about 30 people, online only people who signed up for that event, which, I mean, 30 to me is a win because it was 0 before.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we're seeing some of that stuff. It also has information in there about financial aid, anything a student could ask. We've kind of gone through the gamut of questions that they ask. We've got it addressed in there. And then the discussion posts, we have a few that we post, but this semester we've also included a Panopto. For anyone that knows what that is, it's just a video streaming. And we've included a Panopto video introduction. So it's not just hi, my name is Sarah, I live in South Dakota. You can see me, you can touch your screen, I guess. That would be weird, but but it's that more interactive, you get to know somebody just a little bit better. And we've asked them to just do a 10-second quick intro. It also gets them comfortable with recording themselves because they'll have to do it with understanding how to do all of that stuff, whether it's Zoom or Panopto or Teams, whatever they might be using.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And so with that, I kind of alluded to it before, but we've been able to see a steady 3%. It happens to be 3% each semester. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. It just was a beautiful, clean number. And we've seen that. So approximately a 10% increase in online student retention over the last 5 years.
Yeah, which is huge. I mean,
yeah,
that's
and we
a lot of
continue to
students.
grow. Our online population has far exceeded our on-campus population at this point. So it's nice to see some of the things that are working for them, and they obviously are hoping to feel that sense of community a little bit more.
Yeah, I love it. And I love one of the things I like about both of your approaches is something that we also talk about, which is these models are not a one size fits all. It's this combination of you have humans in the system, like your advisors and your coaches who might be providing generalized advice or one-on-one intervention. And that's supported by this many-to-many system where students can find answers and resources or meet one another. So you solve a lot of problems, access to information, access to key individuals from your institution, access to a community, kind of all in one go, which I love. I had a follow-up question for you, Nate, but I've now forgotten what it was.
There is a question in the chat.
That's fantastic, since I can't remember what I was thinking about.
Sarah, did you find that the students who are on campus chose to attend the live stream events instead of going in person?
Yeah, that was the concern from administration at first was, no, we want them to come. We don't want them sitting in their dorms. I think it's a valid concern, but we did not see that at all. There wasn't anyone who would have come. I think if they were here, they wanted to come. And we've even put on events like, I haven't seen how many people have viewed it or anything yet, but we also threw in there like the Smithsonian had a free video museum type thing you can put in there. And so I put stuff like that in there just to give them a little break from the heavy and just see if they like to learn different things. And I haven't viewed how successful that was yet because it's just kind of an ongoing, but the concern really, it was mitigated by proof that, nope, we did this. It was still a full house in person. And I just sat back there with my laptop and moderated the questions.
Yeah.
Through YouTube, I think is what we did it through.
That's awesome. And sometimes, it's hard to convince people without just doing it, right? So you just have to sort of do it and show them that their concerns or that their beliefs that it's not going to work are misguided, and there is a way to
Yes.
get there. Awesome. Nate, just because Sarah mentioned the ratio of online to on ground, what percent of your student population are fully online? Do you happen to know?
Fully online, quick math, I would say around 33%, around a third.
And intending to grow that, or
Yes.
you got, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's grown significantly. When I first came here, we were around, I think, like 800-ish online students, and now it's around 2,200. So continue to see that grow.
Awesome. So I'm gonna bring, and I think part of why I wanted to ask that question is I think that's true of a lot of institutions. And you brought it up earlier, Nate, which is like maybe you started as a traditionally in-person place, but now online is becoming a bigger and bigger part of your strategic goal. How do you think about it? How do you think about it a little bit differently? Okay, we're gonna try this Slido again, I think. Okay, so couple of ideas from our panelists about how they are trying to foster connection and belonging for online students. Curious from the audience, is there anything that you have been doing either inside the classroom or outside of the classroom that is helping you achieve these goals for your online learners? And it's absolutely okay if it's duplicative of what we're doing here, or if you have something new that you might want to bring to the table, please do that as well.
You know, while they're sharing that, sorry,
Yeah.
Katie, I was just going to fill a little bit of time in telling you one strategy, kind of going back to the online classroom and getting resources to them where they will. Our office is partnered right next door to our Center for Teaching and Learning, and we have a very robust quality assurance process for our online courses. They all need to go through a rubric that is, we make sure that they meet all these boxes. And that's how we get into the classroom, is by those connections with the Center for Teaching and Learning. And I ask at any point if they're, in a new faculty training, they do a new faculty orientation, they do an adjunct orientation. Let me in there if you can, if it makes sense. And so I can just talk about how the importance of online is. And a lot of it is when I work with the CTL, they are able to get some of the information, like my instructor isn't getting my grades back on time. I don't know what my grade is. Things like that,
Yeah.
that's a CTL issue, and we can actually fix that.
Right.
So there's some different ways to go about that too that I want to make sure to enter. I'm not sure that everyone has a CTL, but we have something that helps with those online programs. So you might consider pairing up with them.
Well, and you touched on a couple of things there. One is online course design, which I know I'm sure everyone on this session has thought very extensively about that. The other is this idea of problem solving for online students. I know someone had posted in the chat that they are also an online student, and one of the challenges can be if you have an issue, you're not really sure where to take it or what to do with it. And so having these very obvious open channels, they don't know that you can help resolve the, CTL challenges. So opening up those lines of communication can have a huge impact as well, which is one of the things I'm sure your community does for your students at the same time. So this is interesting. Intro video is very high, which I love. And I love how you're doing those little micro videos in your community. Anybody who's ever tried to do a Zoom session where everyone has their camera off, I think appreciates how nice it is to just be able to see the person who is out there on the other side. And those can make a big impact. And then variety. So I'm curious, Nate, I don't know if whoever put those in, because we had a couple want to speak a little bit more about that, but how do you interpret that, Nate and Sarah, when people say variety? What does that mean to you?
Yeah,
I'll let you go for it, Nate.
Yeah, I would say variety for me is actually looking beyond the word variety on the screen at all those things behind it, and the hard part, I got a lot of great ideas. In fact, it's interesting. A student reached out and is I want to start a yoga sessions with my classmates. How do I go about doing that? the challenge that we've had is how do you facilitate that? You know, how do you get everybody in one place when they're not in one place? You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, so you want to do like a break virtual dance party. That's awesome. How do you communicate it and get everybody all together? So, like a lot of these ideas on here we're either toying around with or plan on doing, and because everybody's different, every student is different. I don't care about sports, I don't care about yoga, but I like cars, you know, so find that for me, you know. So yeah, that's what it means to me, and you just have to have a way to funnel everybody into it.
I love that. I love that thought as well. And one of the, I would say in our communities, people create these sort of micro spaces for some of these special interests, I guess one way to say it is. And one of the most popular is the gamer, group, the gamer subgroup where people are just talking about, I don't know. I am not a gamer, so I probably couldn't even give you a good example of what goes on in there, but that same subgroup appears over and over again across our institutions. So yeah, it's like listening to your students and what they need, which actually leads very nicely into our next question, which is, how did you include the student voice in your ideas about what you were going to build? And not only that, but how you evolve it over time. Because somebody said earlier, you're adding things over time. That's definitely been our experience. Community is not a point in time event. You got to kind of continue to modify it and change it and think about what needs to go in and go out. So, Sarah, you want to start and just talk about your student engagement strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. The one that comes to mind, because it was most recent and it was very successful, is at our campus, we do an annual day of service. And I live in South Dakota. It's a fairly small town, Madison, South Dakota, if you want to Google it. And so what they do is on a given day, usually in the fall, the entire campus cancels classes in the afternoon, and DSU does what it's called. It's Day of Giving or Service Day. We've called it a few different things. And they sign up for different projects throughout the community. And they could go volunteer at the community center. They can go paint the library. They can, whatever needs to happen. There's, clothes sorting at the local Goodwill, all sorts of things like that. But I, of course, ask the question that I always ask, what about our online students? Can we get them to do anything? Which I was given see what you can do.
Yeah.
So I did that, and what we did, I find it pretty awesome. So we did a shout out. We sent out the service day information to make sure to give it to our online only students and made sure the messaging was in a way that they knew we were talking to them. It's not just some mass email, this pertains to you. And we asked them if they would be interested in doing service day projects within their community. And that could have been in Texas, New York, wherever it might be, and just send us a picture of you doing your service activity. And we sent them a DSU Service Day shirt. And so we've got some great pictures of our online students. One of them was like they dropped off some balls at the local dog park. One of them was raking his neighbor's lawn up from all the leaves. And then they had their DSU t-shirts on. And that really, that was really fun to see. And we probably had 60 of those different projects.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then to take it one step further, Madison, as I said, is a small town, but it's about an hour outside of Sioux Falls, which is, I commute from there. That's our largest town in South Dakota. But we have over 300 online only students there, just 50 miles away from us. So I thought, let's do something in Sioux Falls where they are. And I just picked one. It was near and dear to my heart. It was the Veterans Community Project. They build tiny homes for homeless veterans. And we got a group together of students who lived in the Sioux Falls area that were DSU students. And we just went and did whatever they needed that day. One day it happened to be insulation. Never done that in my life, but they showed us how to do it. And the next was painting. And the camaraderie that happens when you're sitting in there painting in a tiny home with online students that you're just meeting for the first time. It was a real cool thing to watch and see. So
That's
those
neat.
are the different ways we've kind of tried to get to our online students.
I love that. And I do think it's true that for certain schools, although their students are fully online, there do tend to be geographic pockets of those learners where there could be some opportunity for in-person engagement, like the kind that you put together, which is really neat. And if not, you know, there are ways to do this virtually and still get the warm, fuzzy sense of
Yeah.
connection and collaboration that you get from being there in person. What about you, Nate? How do you guys brought students into this process?
Yeah, so you know, the whole reason this started, well, I was very vocal. I critiqued the university, a little bit in this call, saying we tend to force them through a traditional model. I was vocal about that since I started. So the beauty of that is people listened and then they assigned me the task of fixing that. So like I was given the
Great.
task, which a couple years ago, my strategic initiative was to align the needs of the online learner with the university. So I was like, okay, how do I go about figuring out what to do? So I sent in a survey to all of our online students, fully online, and just it was mostly quantitative, just Likert scale of every department, every staff division, rank on how effective this meets your needs. One of the areas that reports up to me was ranked very lowly. That was financial aid. So I was like, okay, we got to fix financial aid, But there was one question I put at the bottom that I just put, tell me anything you want to tell me about your experience at Lindenwood University. And that's where the qualitative feedback came in. And to be honest, like I'm guilty of treating students transactionally myself. I get in my daily routine, I do my job, I want to make sure their financial aid gets like dispersed on time, and it's in service of the student. But what actually caught me off guard was the amount of students who responded and said, like, I want a place to go where I can meet other students. There's no community. I feel disconnected from the university. So it was that really open-ended question where the feedback started pouring in and students started saying, I want we don't have a student union that we can go to, like things like that. And so in response, in one student ironically put, I don't even have any Lindenwood swag, and I tried to order it from the bookstore and they messed up my order. So I'm like, okay, we sent our students, a mug in the mail. Like everybody's going to get something that physically ties them to the university so they can pick up, drink their coffee and remember I'm a part of something. And then second, that's where we started pursuing, okay, they're asking for community.
Yeah.
We neglected that. How do we deliver on that? And again, the solution had to be outside the classroom.
Yeah, right. And in some ways that's easier outside the classroom, right? Fewer people to convince, fewer implementations perhaps to have to resolve. You have a little bit more control over the environment. But that totally makes sense. I've never spoken to an institution that surveyed their students and did not have them come back, their online students, and they didn't come back and say, we have no way to meet each other. I have no way to know who else is in my program. And the swag thing might seem small, but I bet that feels great. It gives you like a sense of pride in your institution and the work you're doing that, you can't match without having that simple thing around. So I love that you guys did that. And listen to your students. They have actually really interesting and useful feedback to give us if we give them the opportunity to provide it. So we're going to move into some conversations about outcomes. I do want to encourage the audience, if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. Feel free to pop in on your video if you want to speak up in person. So Nate, you guys are early in this process, although you might have some outcomes related to the success coaches. How are you what does a win look like for you guys?
Sure. Like from the success coach perspective, that was a challenge at first because we hired a lot of internal folks who were more traditional based. So we had to get them in the mindset of that like intrusive advising model. But we've seen a huge uptick in our persistence as a result of that and just positive feedback. So we're not at our ideal persistence rate right now. So we're hovering around 76 to 78%, but embarrassingly, it was around it was under 60% when I started. So moving in the right direction. And then with delivering on the requests from the students to create community, we literally call ours, our InScribe instance, a virtual quad. And that came, we talked about, what do we call it? Someone said there's not a student union. So we kind of played with that, So I would say that this is our first term going all in on InScribe and creating that environment. So right now I don't have quantitative persistence data, but I do have quantitative utilization data. And that was something I was worried about, is will it be utilized moving into this? And it actually was shocking to me, especially now there's ebbs and flows. Around finals week, it goes down, because everybody's busy, but especially at the start of the term, the first 3 to 4 weeks, just the engagement is off the charts. And the thing that has pleasantly surprised me was the organic engagement, like students saying, like a student started a study with me group. Like they literally are a adult learner, and they launched their group because I see it, because I have it set up so I get the email and notifications. I see them starting their group at like 9 o'clock at night. Now that's close to when I'm going to go to bed, but that fits their model. And the first time they did it, I think maybe 1 or 2 students showed up. Now 8 students are regularly showing up for this study together. So I can see okay, connection really is happening. What they asked for, it's actually happening. And unique things also that I didn't see before is student-led problem solving. Despite having grown our success coach team, we still have a small team based on the size of our student population. And if I had to add up the number of staff members who only work online students, it would be less than 20. And that's not a lot based on the size of our university. So just kind of anecdotally, hey, where do I find my books? I can't find my book for this course. Or someone posted, I haven't been math in a long time. Someone give me tips, So we're seeing that, and the amount of students that are logging in regularly, it's way more than I expected.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love when a skeptic, I wouldn't call you a skeptic, but I love exceeding the expectations. I think a lot of times that's one of people's hesitations is, I don't think they're going to use this. I don't think students are going to come, but they do. And you don't have to do a lot to get them there.
I will say you got to do a little bit, because
That's true.
If you open a Facebook page and then said, well, let's see how many friends I get in the first few weeks, you wouldn't get any. So it still takes some coaxing along to get the ball rolling, but it does get rolling.
Yes, it's not a build it and they will just come. Totally fair. But there was, right before I jumped to Sarah, there was a question in the chat about, and this could go to either of you. There's this third group of students that we don't talk about very much. The ones that are on campus but taking a good portion of their classes online. Does that hybrid population exist for you guys? And do you include them in the online initiatives? Are they mostly included in the on-campus initiatives? Not even sure yet how we're going to deal with them. Where are you guys at on that?
Well, I can sure start. That is absolutely the case, I would assume, at every campus. The option is there. It's kind of like an event. You have the live option or the Zoom option. If you're gonna have it, they're gonna come to the live one. So what we have seen is online classes work really well for our student athletes, depending on the seasons they're in, because there's a lot of travel involved. And so, when you travel from South Dakota to anywhere, let me just tell you, you're in a bus for a while. Anyway, the online class, they are doing that mix of online and on campus. And so that's one population that they've got some real parameters around them. They have study tables they have to attend. They have all these things. But then there's the non-athletes that this just works better for their schedule. A lot of those are we don't have a lot. I think the huge fear people have is we've got people sitting in the dorms taking all online classes. And we don't see that. Yes, they might be taking one or two, but they're pursuing, they're moving forward with their degree. And I think that's the goal, is to make sure we're providing the service they need. And if it's not on campus, then online is where it's at. It can be a little confusing for students just because all of their professors do it just a little bit differently, but that doesn't change in the online world versus face-to-face world. They could go to Comp 1 tomorrow and have, Comp 2 with a totally different instructor, and they do it all a different way. So we have a large population of that. And I think instead of being scared of that, we've somewhat embraced it. And we haven't seen any trends of like, oh, wow, we've got this flux of students that were here and now they're going online. And that's a problem because of all the different tuition and all that type of thing. So we really haven't encountered that much. We're trying to embrace that collaboration. And then some of the things that we do, like I was talking about our live streamed events and things like that, we do gear that towards online only. We pull them specifically because if they're taking online and face-to-face, they already know the information, and most likely we want them to get the information the way they got it. So
Got it. Do you guys do anything unique, Nate, for that hybrid population, or do you kind of weave them into the in-person model?
We're looking at it now because we're seeing a much higher percentage of on-ground students taking more online classes, especially as they're getting towards the end of their degree. They're working at that time, they're taking on jobs more. We're trying to open up some cross-pollination. We're also trying to get our online students to come to like a VIP night at a basketball game, since about 50% of our students are within an hour or two of our campus.
Yeah.
But because so many students at the ground trad level are taking online classes, it's funny that you mentioned it because it was just brought up at we have our attention meeting every other Thursday, and that was brought up. So we're exploring. We firewalled them off from our InScribe, but we're toying with the idea of actually adding them to InScribe, because look, they're going to go on Fizz, whether you like it or not. I don't know if you're familiar with Fizz, but like they're going to go online anyway. So like maybe we can create an environment, right, that they're going to go. So yeah, we're looking into that right now, actually.
Right. Stop thinking about them as two totally different population. I mean, appreciate the differences, but there's more of a blend between these groups than this idea of a walled separation. All right, I know we're coming up right at the end, and as probably everyone has been sitting here for 3 hours listening to all this amazing content. I did have one more slide. So we often do other activities where we bring people together to talk about community building, putting strategies together around this. If you'd be interested in joining us at one of those, you can just drop your name in here. But really, I want to give a huge thank you. First of all, Sarah and Nate, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your great background, interests, ideas, and big shout out to USDLA for hosting the week's events. You guys have been fantastic. Such great content, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you for saying yes.
Exactly.
We're good at that. Yes, and we're always ready.
Would love to have you next year too. In between, we have many other things going on, but yeah.
No, we're already ready for next year. You sign us up. Hold our spot.
Awesome. You gonna be in Cleveland with us?
We might be. I don't know. Danielle's in charge, as you probably gathered.
I gotta put the little teaser out there. Come on, Danielle. Don't you want to come visit?
We have her email. We have her
Danielle
email.
tells me what to do, and
I
I understand.
haven't even started thinking about it yet. What is it? We have some time. Yes.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Danielle, we have your email and your picture. We'll follow up.
No, I know y'all had a great session at the conference last year, so I just putting it out there.
It was fun for sure.
Yeah.
I sent you a private message on the chat and you did not see it.
Oh.
Who, me? Farah? Hi, Farah.
Yes.
Sorry.
And I text you and I think I have the wrong.
Oh, you are there.
phone number.
Yes.
Could you
Nice to see
reply
you
to the
too.
private message, because Dr. Robbie would like to follow up with you on your stuff.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
So just look
We're
at
going to
the
make those
chat.
connections happen one way or
Yeah,
another.
look at the chat and put your number.
We'll find the
That's
right
all.
technology and we'll make it happen.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Good to see
And I just want to,
everybody.
Katie, I just want
Yeah,
to say you did a
please.
beautiful job with your
Oh,
navigating of the sharing and unsharing.
thank you very
I know
much.
you were you commented on being a little, it was
Yeah, well,
it
that's
was
the
an
one that
experiment.
I have.
You were perfect.
Aaron,
And I
that's the
gotta
number I
get out of my
have, and
comfort
I just texted you.
All right. I think we'll save the rest of that for once I stop the recording. But
All right.
if because I don't know where this is going. So
Send me an
a lot of
email,
side
Kara.
conversations going on here.
Yeah, look at the text message. Look at your text and
I'm-
reply. That's all I need.
But I know a
That's
lot of
all.
people have a hard stop. So I want to take a moment to thank Kay for
Yes.
another wonderful day of hosting. And thank everybody who attended today and is watching in the future, because obviously everything is recorded and we will get those recordings to you shortly. But I'm going to turn it back over to Kay and Farah, because I'm sure they want to really say something fun and exciting about tomorrow, which is sadly our last day
Yes,
of the
Okay,
week.
it is
We
our
have
last day.
many returning favorite people. If there's any way how you can clear your schedule tomorrow, it is the session. Dr. Robbie Melton will be our keynote speaker, closing keynote speaker. A lot of things in terms of AI, workforce development, the do and do not, and fun toys that we'll be working with live virtually. She'll be joining us, her and her team. So whatever you can do, again, call in sick tomorrow. This is not recorded. I'm good. I'm good. This is not recorded. So
Promoting bad behavior, I don't know. But I will say, just to remind people, tomorrow, most of our sessions have been an hour. Robbie's session tomorrow is a special double feature. It is 2 hours. So it is from 12 to 2 Eastern. Time zones may vary. But it is a 2-hour session.
Okay, so to go ahead and wrap this up, tomorrow will be our last, daily show. So it is going to be, the theme is going to be so long and thanks for all the fish. Okay, but we'll get into AI in there.
Go ahead.
We'll get AI in there somewhere.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm sorry I'm in and out all the time. First I went for Asr prayers, and then after an hour I went for Maghrib prayer and then back. So we are enjoying the lectures. So when are we going to finish? Tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow is the last day. Yes.
All right, tomorrow is the last day. All right, okay. Okay.
Thank
so
you.
I missed about 3 sessions.
Oh,
What
but we talked. You're going to get the recordings, and everybody's not going. Well, I know it's not quite the same as being here live with all of us, but everyone is going to get access to the record. You're going to get access to the recording, so not a problem.
I'm seeing new faces on the other side. Good. Okay.
Totally understand. Thank you for being here, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, everybody, so we're gonna wrap it up for today. Okay, please come again tomorrow. We would love to have a discussion with you tomorrow. And even though the theme is gonna be like very broad, like so long and thanks for all the fish. Bring your ideas, bring your questions. Our theme has been AI, the great, the great AI disequilibrium. So how do we balance it out? AI, human, AI plus human, all of that. So hopefully we will see you tomorrow.
And just for the fun, we'll throw numbers: 42, 67.
Yeah, 42 and 67. We've
You
just
never know
decided
what happened. Yes.
we've just decided that they are basically, that they're basically the same. Okay, and anybody who wants to come on as a discussant tomorrow morning, I'll just go, hey, we have any discussants? Okay,
Exactly.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.